talking with Jeanette from Walt Disney Imagineering. Jeanette, can you just give us a quick overview of what you do and your connection to Alani?
My name is Jeanette Lomboy. I am the Senior Show Producer Creative for Walt Disney Imagineering. So I get that awesome job of being responsible for everything a guest sees, feels, experiences, the overall story of Alani.
You have the job that everybody who goes to our site wants. You're in a very enviable position.
And it's a wonderful job. It's as great as people think it is. And with it comes a lot of responsibility, as we've discovered here at Alani. But yes, love my job.
Speaking of responsibility, there's always that connection back to Disney, doing things the Disney way and making sure that you respect the traditions of Disney. How does this resort, not affiliated with a Disney park, uphold those Disney traditions?
It's actually really, really, really simple, and I'm glad that you asked that question, because when we started on the design of Alani, we do our research. This is a Joe Rohde project. Joe Rohde is my executive. I'm his producer. But we did a lot of research, and I think that's really important, especially when you're telling a story in place, which is really unique for us. But when you distill it down, it comes down to three things, right? And those three things are, which, interestingly enough, what's the Hawaiian culture about? It's about ohana, which is family, right? It's about story, which is mo'olelo. Now, the Hawaiians are the most fabulous storytellers in the entire world, okay? And the third thing is, there's magic everywhere you look here in Hawaii. Now, it's pretty simple. The last time I checked, Disney is about exactly those three things. Family, story, and magic. So it isn't hard to see why we can create a place like Alani, which is true to the culture, is being as respectful to the culture, and it still be a Disney product, right? I mean, this is an immersive experience. This is an immersive story. And so I think when you walk through Alani, you experience it, you are in these amazing and enchanting spaces. You don't have to be surrounded by characters in order to understand that Disney is still part of this place. And the two complement each other really well. So I think in this respect, it was a perfect fit.
I had my doubts. I said,
Did you?
I did. I am a Disney park fan.
Yeah.
I love going to the hotels at the parks. And I thought, what is this going to be? What is this product going to be? And walking around here, it is spectacular. It is not only beautiful, but it has a certain feel to it. It has a magic to it, as you would have in any Disney resort.
It's a destination.
It is a destination.
Yep.
So much to see, so much to do here. What are you most excited about the guests experiencing when they come to Alani?
Okay, so, what's really been cool about this project is I come from the theme park world too, right? And so we're used to 2.5-minute experiences, maybe a day long, sometimes a week long, just how you think about how we create rides or spaces, right? But what's really been unique about Alani is it's not just our hotel guests, it's our DVC members, and we want for them to come here and build a relationship with this place, with Alani, with Hawaii, that lasts over the course of a lifetime. So how do you do that, right? I mean, we're not relying on another theme park next door to us, but what we do have is we have all of Hawaii that is in this place. So what we try to do in our architectural details and the interior design is to embed visual cues that relate back to a story of some kind. So, when you walk through, say, the Maka'ala lobby, which is that main lobby space, I think what our guests are going to get is, right away, hey, this is a beautiful place, right? This is enchanting, this is magical. The first time they walk through that space. The second time they walk into that space, I hope they start to ask questions, because everything, down to the vents in the hallways, relate back to some kind of story point. And they also relate back to the rest of Hawaii, because this is a story about Hawaii and the Hawaiian culture, right? It's not a story that's meant to end here, it's meant to start here. This is a home base, right? You are surrounded by it, you ask questions like, there's a lampshade right behind your head over there, right? What is the detailing on that lampshade, or the curtains in this room? When you go out to the rest of Hawaii, you'll start to see these visual cues come to the foreground, right? And those two things, relationship-wise, tie back to each other. And I think what's really beautiful about that is, this is amazing if you think about it. The story does not end here. It starts here and it expands as our guests explore Hawaii. And the two things have to, they combine together in a way that I think creates the type of immersive experience that has never been created before at any of our Disney theme parks or any of our resorts.
When you go to a Disney resort in a theme park, their job is to keep you there. They want you to stay and they want you to spend money there, and they don't want you to go off property. Here it feels like everything I've heard and seen and experienced is you want just the opposite. go out and
Absolutely.
experience our culture, experience what this island has to offer.
Without a question, because for us, you know, and if you want to stay here, you don't want to leave, you can. You can stay here for an entire week. You can enjoy everything we have. We've got amazing amenities. You know, we have an awesome spa, which I'm really excited about because it's not something that Imagineering's ever done before.
Just to interrupt you real quick,
Yeah.
I've learned today that the spa is owned by Disney, which is very unusual. Usually Disney partners with a third party.
Correct. It's owned by Disney, it's operated by Disney, and it's designed by Walt Disney Imagineers. So, and it's got this incredibly immersive storyline. So, anyway, back to what I was saying is, I think our guests can stay here for an entire week and not leave if they don't want to. But really, for us, it's options. But also, we don't think, you know, I'm an Imagineer. I love story. That's what it's about, right? And I don't think you get the full story. You're never going to get the full story unless you do explore. So maybe the first time you visit here, you don't want to leave. It's completely fine. Second time you come, you might venture out. You might, you know, third, fourth, fifth year, you're having a combination of both. And I promise you, the way that we've designed Aulani is that you will see something different every single time. And actually, I encourage you both to come here at night, because what you're not getting is the evening experience. We purposely designed Aulani to be different at every time of day, from the background music, right, which you're not hearing, to the shadows and the way the light hits our Pu'ukilo, which is the lava outcropping that's at the center of the Waikolohe Valley, to the special effects that look completely different at night or only come out at night, right? And I think that's really important. And not only do we think about that, but it also has a relationship with this place, because in Hawaii, right, it feels completely different at night than it does during the day, and it's for a reason. So the Hawaiians, as I've learned, as we've come to learn, is that the day actually starts at night. The beginning started at night, and so it takes on a really magical feel. So, you know, to sum it up, I've gone on a little bit to sum it up. I think the important part is that our guests will come back time and time again, and the story will continue to unveil itself. Little details, little things that you don't notice. Talk about magic. It's a very subtle layer of magic. There are special effects embedded into this place that you may not even notice the first time you're here. And I mean really, really subtle. Out of the corner of your eye, something shifts and darts. You turn around and you see something magical happen off the corner of your eye, right? That is what we're talking about. Not overt magic, but magic in the truest, most natural sense of the word. And I think that honors the magic that's, the real magic that's here in Hawaii.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You talked a lot about storytelling.
Yeah.
Everything with Disney is a story.
Yes.
Can you briefly give us the story of how Aulani came to be at this spot?
Well, you know, I've already explained why when we designed the resort, why we felt like those two things were a perfect fit, right? You know, we're honored to be here, right? And why I say that is for us as Imagineers, usually we get to make up whatever we want. It's a fantasy world of ideas, and we create these amazing experiences, environments that have never been created before. Now, we didn't have to go very far here. The stories of Hawaii and the Hawaiian culture are amazing, and we don't need to deviate from that. So the reason why I think we are here is for that very reason, that it's a perfect fit, that the stories exist in a way that have not been told, and certainly not told to a large global audience in this particular format as a destination resort. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly the crux of it. I mean, is there something more specific that I can elaborate on for you?
Just that usually there's the, I'm trying to find an example of it in a Disney resort. You know, in a Disney resort, this theme is here for a specific reason. But you're saying it's more organic than that.
It is more organic than that. I mean, and I'll give you a perfect example. Let's take the name of our resort, okay? So usually, we Imagineers get to make the stuff up. We do our research, of course, but we get to name things, rides, and we get to name. Now, naming, this is what, I mean, I'll tell you that we are completely committed to telling the right and the most appropriate story for this place, which means being true to the culture, right? And we're not going to be perfect. No one is, but we're doing our best, and I think that's important to say. But let's take Aulani, for example. How did we end up with the name Aulani? Well, usually for us, we do the blue sky, we sit around, we think of a cool name. Here it wasn't that simple, you know. I think first and foremost, the major criteria for everything that we have done here is it right, is it appropriate? So Aulani was a name that was gifted to us by one of our core cultural advisors, Native Hawaiian cultural advisors, because naming is really important to the culture. I mean, to get a name, there is not a, let's pick one out of a book, right? That name was a gift that was given to us by a cultural advisor who had a dream about this place. Now, what does Aulani mean, right? Aulani means, I think literally, now the Hawaiian language is very complicated, so there are many meanings, so I have to put disclaimers in all the time. But I have heard that it means messenger of a great chief, or a chief messenger of a greater authority, right? The messenger being Disney, and the greater authority being the Hawaiian culture, right? And I think that's really important to say that instead of us pulling a name out of a blue sky session, that we did this the right way, which is one of our cultural advisors dreamed of the name, gave it to us as a gift, or offered it up as a gift, and that is the name of Aulani. I think that pretty much is important to know, because that's what has essentially motivated and inspired everything that you see here at the resort. By being right and being appropriate and not making it up, doing the research, talking to subject matter experts, working with our cultural advisors, what you get is a feeling, this sort of feeling of real, but in a magical way, in an enchanting way, that I don't think you necessarily get in our theme parks. Like you were talking about walking around and feeling how spectacular it is. When you walk around this space, it's not a fantasy world. You get that this is rooted in something that's real, which I think is a different kind of a feeling. Just as Disney, but in a different way, right? And I think that's really important. I mean, listen, I don't think our guests are going to be disappointed. There will be characters here. They're going to come and visit, right? They're going to be, we'll have Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, all of those folks here visiting alongside our guests as guests as well. And you don't necessarily have to have what people typically associate with Disney at the forefront to create something that I think resonates with our core guest base, right? It's about magic, after all. It's about story and magic, and I think, and family, and if those are the things that are at the heart of our company, this is what's at the heart of this resort. And so that's what you're feeling and experiencing. It's not a fantasy world. It's a world here that's enchanting, but it's based on real stories and a real culture.
One of the things we are being asked a lot, and you've answered it beautifully, is were you embraced by the Hawaiian people? Were you embraced by the surrounding culture? And it sounds like you have. It sounds like there was no...
yes. I mean, this has not been an easy project. I like to liken it to say that it is with as beautiful as... this place is beautiful. We're all very proud of it, but it has taken a lot of work to get here. It has not been easy, and I think that's important because one of the words that I've learned that I think are really important that I associate with this project is this idea of kuleana, right? And kuleana in the Hawaiian culture means responsibility, right? And this goes beyond our walls here. It was really important to all of us, if you're going to tell a story in place, that you do it right and that you honor the culture. And so, like I said, it wasn't good enough that something was awesome and beautiful and amazing. It was, is it right, is it appropriate, right? And I think you need to, I think for us, that kind of responsibility resonates at our core. Yes, we want to make sure our guests have an amazing time and that they're enchanted and they find this place beautiful and filled with story and magic and all those good things. But beyond that, I think it's been meaningful because it's the locals, it's the Native Hawaiians that come through this space and say, yes, these are the things that are us. Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, but these are the things this is what my grandparents talked to us about. And to see it in this sort of large-scale format, I think at this scale, for all of us, really, really humbled by it, right? Because our commitment to that has run really deep.
When we approach the hotel, when you come off the major highway and you start to approach the hotel, it's obvious that this is the biggest hotel in the area. It takes up the most space. However, again, I use this word over and over again, it feels organic. The colors you've chosen and the shapes you've chosen, it doesn't feel like this white monstrosity that you're sitting next to. So you can tell that Disney has put a lot of time and effort into making sure that this is respectful of not only the people but also of the land.
And that's for good reason. I think the reason why we've done that is, again, for us as Imagineers, we start with story. We always start with story. What's the story here? Why are we even here? What's the point? And that's why I was telling you, I think before we could even begin, it was distilling it down to those three things for us to feel comfortable. Why are we here? Oh yeah, family, story, magic. Got it. We can create those things. We can blend them. We can create a place that everybody recognizes both as Hawaiian and Disney. Where do these things fit? I always like to say, Disney is this beautiful blank canvas, the best canvas that we're trying to be. The Hawaiian culture is the paint, right? And together, this creates a masterpiece that's now Lani, right? And I think that's the right way to think about it, right? We're just offering up our canvas of, guest service, quality, commitment to detail, and really the rest of the paint comes from the Hawaiian culture. We wouldn't have anything else that surrounds us. Now, the reason why it's organic is we are. And it's funny that you say that, because that means we've done our job, meaning we have a 15-story, 2-tower resort. There is nothing organic about that. We're not trying to say that this is a replica of anything Hawaiian. What it is it's informed by Hawaiian tradition in this present moment, but it's also, I think, forward-thinking and also fairly contemporary, so that when our guests walk through the space, they get the sense of respect for tradition, but they also know it's a living space and a living culture. Really, really, really important. Now, also, why is it organic? Because, down to our furniture design, right? Now, there is no model for pre-contact furniture at all, because the Hawaiians didn't have pre-contact furniture. We had to actually create the design of the furniture itself to fit with being informed and inspired by little architectural details of what are Hawaiian, right?
Before we move ahead,
Yeah.
Scott used that expression before, and I've been doing a little reading. Could you explain what pre-contact is?
Absolutely. So pre-contact is considered the point before Western civilization came to the Hawaiian Islands. Okay? And so when you say pre-contact, that means that there was no influence at all from Western civilization to this area. So they didn't actually have furniture. They didn't have chairs. They didn't have couches, beds. They did sleep on lauhala mats or mats and that sort of stuff. But if you're going to be about the Hawaiian culture, which is what we've chosen to be, sans Western influence for the most part, because if it's sans Western influence in our design and our details, and we can relate back to the things that have been part of the Hawaiian culture for many, 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 many centuries, going way back. So I think for us, we made a choice that that's what we wanted to hold on to, the purest expression of what that culture is. So when you look at, say, a bed frame, or the headboard of the bed, right? When you look at that, there's no sample for that. There's no, as you were saying, there's no pre-contact bed, but what you see is a lauhala mat or a makaloa mat inspiration that relates back to something that's important to the Hawaiians, and the frame being inspired by something also important to the Hawaiians, which is forms and shapes that you would see either in an outrigger canoe or in a structural beam that would hold the calabash bowls. And listen, I could go into detail about every little thing at this resort. This is why I'm saying you have to be careful, because like everything else at Aulani, you walk around, you feel it. First, hey, this is an enchanting, magical place, but it feels real.
But I also think that's important, because I don't think anyone's looking for historical accuracy. No one wants to sleep on a mat. So I think my opinion is what you've done is you've taken the inspiration and brought it forward.
Right, and I think that's why it's really important to say this is not a replica of anything. We are informed by the past, right, and the traditions that ground the Hawaiian culture in this present moment, but looking to the future, because the culture is very much a living culture.
I was just going to say that. I say one thing we've noticed here is that the Hawaiian culture is living, breathing, and growing with others as they come. It's a melting pot here. So it's important to understand that it's not, we're not talking about, like you said, sleeping on grass mats. It's done in a beautiful way that encompasses that. And along those same lines, you guys have taken Disney influences and you've married that into the designs. We've seen some of the hidden Mickeys. One of the things that Imagineering does is it also does, people call it different things. Some people call it Easter eggs, or they call it threads. Are there any of those at this hotel that people will recognize as being Disney?
Am I supposed to give those away?
I think that shit would be great, because people will want to know that and will want to try to look for others. So if you have one or two that are more
I tell you what, could you just acknowledge that maybe they're here and that people should look for them?
Oh, absolutely. I will acknowledge. Now, my disclaimer to say is that we are first and foremost about the Hawaiian culture here, but certainly we are about Disney. We are Disney. And so I think that if our fans, and particularly the folks from Disboards, look really hard, they will find some very, very cool things that relate back to things that we've done in the past, where appropriate, where it fits. So I'll come out and say, well, the one hint I can give you is Auntie's Beach House, which have you walked into that space yet?
No.
We haven't
yet.
yet.
At some point?
I'm going, yeah, they're going to.
Okay, so I will say that though it is for kids, at some point if there's an open session that allows our guests, any guests to come in here and you don't have kids, if you are a fan, you will appreciate what we have done with Auntie's Beach House. Because in particular, we're being Imagineering. And I will leave it at that. And when you guys walk in there, you will freak out.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. You can edit that out. But I mean, I am honored to. You know,
Did she tell us too much?
No.
Oh, good.
I'm just saying it's a teaser because, you know, we have been where we can, and I'll go back and I'll say Auntie's Beach House is about. It's about the local culture as much as it is about it being the native Hawaiian culture. Now, aunties and uncles in this culture are very much an important. They hold important positions in the culture and in society, right? Auntie and uncle are usually looked at as, you know, sort of comfort. They're you know, I had an auntie and uncle growing up, and they were older, and that's where you felt comfortable, and you would hang out with them, and so the beach house is perfect. Now, auntie and uncle, they got out, they traveled the world, they had a lot of, you know, great stories, they have a lot of amazing roots, and I will say that when you walk through the space, Uncle's grandfather, ooh, should I spill the beans?
We have listeners who are going to be watching this, and they're going to be.
You can edit this later,
Yes.
They're talking to their computer screens at this point and saying, "Yes, spill the beans, spill the beans."
Well, I will say that Uncle's great grandfather, is part of the backstory, which is appropriate because the Hawaiians traveled the world and they have lots of experiences. But Uncle's grandfather was a member of the Adventurers Club. I will leave it at that.
Oh my gosh, that's going to make people very, very happy.
So this is what I'm saying.
Even a reference to that.
As a backstory, just so you know, and it's fair, right? So Uncle's grandfather was a member of the Adventurers Club, and he got to travel the world. So some of those things Uncle has inherited from his grandfather's travels, if you will.
Wow.
And so they have a home here in Auntie's Beach House.
You were going to make a lot of Disney fans very happy.
Very happy.
I'm telling you this specifically. I haven't spilled the beans to anybody but you guys, and so I say
Wow.
this because I know that
Thank you so much.
that there's a lot of love from the folks on Disboards, and
Especially for the Adventurers Club.
You just sold a lot of DVC points. Just
There are some die-hard Adventurers Club fans out there.
And you'll see. I mean, there's even a lovely letter from Penelope Perkins, and but you'll see. It's
awesome.
good stuff.
Awesome.
There's more in there.
Speaking of the kids clubs, people are very excited. There's not that much information out there at the point at which we're speaking about the kids' activities.
Mm-hmm.
We do understand that they're going to be geared to different levels.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you can tell us about the kids' activities that would be?
What I can tell you is that it's a mix of things, right? But I think some of the programming that is based on a lot of the programming that many of our guests already love from the cruise ships, right, from Disney Cruise Line. So that would be the base of some of the programming, but appropriate to the Hawaiian culture, yeah? So there will be a mix of things. Certainly there will be a certain heavy Hawaiian cultural influence to a lot of the programming, but our guests who are used to traveling with us will recognize some of this, a similar programming base, if you will, right? But it's heavy on story, it's heavy on arts and crafts and doing things, but it's also appropriate to place.
Jeanette, thank you so much for meeting with us. Thank you so much for showing us this beautiful resort. We're very excited to see as much as we can, and we're very excited to come and visit. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. We're happy to have you here. Keep your eyes open.
Thank you.
Lots of cool stuff. Thank you.